Hi friends. Here is a question worth asking honestly. Was Muhammad a true prophet of God? Not a question to ask with hostility. Not a question to avoid out of politeness. A question to ask the way every important question deserves to be asked. With evidence. With reason. With honesty. Here is what makes this question interesting. The Quran itself tells us to consult the Bible. It calls Bible believers the people of the book. It says it confirms what was already in the scriptures. So we will take the Quran at its word. We will apply biblical standards. And we will use Islam's own most trusted historical sources. By the end of this, you will have 4 pieces of evidence. Every single one comes from scripture, or from Islam itself. There are many alarming points, but let's focus on a few of them. The first issue: is Muhammad in the Bible? According to Islamic tradition, a true prophet's message should be able to align with earlier revelations from the Torah and the Gospel, and should not contradict the essential message. Muslims often point to 2 Bible passages as predictions of Muhammad. Let's look at both. Honestly. The first is John chapter 14. Jesus promises another helper, in Greek, the Paraclete. Muslim scholars say the original word was Periklutos, meaning the praised one, which in Arabic would be Muhammad. The problem? There are thousands of ancient Greek manuscripts of the New Testament. Not one of them says Periklutos. Every single manuscript says Parakletos, the Comforter. And Jesus says this Comforter will live inside believers forever. That is not a description of a human prophet. The second passage is Deuteronomy chapter 18. God promises Moses, "I will raise up a prophet like you from among their brothers." Muslims say this refers to the Arabs, descendants of Ishmael. But the New Testament quotes this passage directly. Acts chapter 3 says it refers to Jesus. And in Hebrew, brothers in this context means fellow Israelites. The Bible does not predict Muhammad anywhere. The second issue: what really happened in the cave? This is the heart of the story. In the year 610 AD, Muhammad was alone in a cave called Hira. Something appeared to him. And what happened next is recorded in Sahih Bukhari. That is Islam's most authoritative source, not a critic. Islam itself. Here is what the record says. Muhammad was seized and compressed, squeezed violently, 3 times. He thought he was going to die. He fled the cave in absolute terror. His first words were, "I fear something bad has happened to me." He believed he might be possessed by a demon. He considered throwing himself off the mountain. It was not God who reassured him. It was his wife, Khadija, and her elderly Christian cousin, Waraqah. They told him it was Gabriel. Muhammad did not know what it was. Now compare that to the biblical Gabriel. When Gabriel appeared to Mary, he said, "Do not be afraid." When he appeared to Daniel, he said, "I have come to give you understanding." When he appeared to Zechariah, he said, "I am Gabriel, I stand in God's presence." The biblical Gabriel always identified himself immediately. He always brought calm, not terror, not suicidal despair. The Apostle Paul wrote 6 centuries before Muhammad was born, Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. 2 Corinthians 11:14. And then this, perhaps the most precise warning in all of Scripture: if even an angel from heaven preaches a different gospel, let him be accursed. Galatians 1:8. The being in the cave preached a very different gospel. It denied the crucifixion of Jesus. It denied the Trinity. It denied Christ's divinity. Paul named this scenario precisely. Centuries before, it happened. The third issue, the Quran's own test, applied to Muhammad. Here is where it gets really interesting. The Quran itself defines what a false prophet looks like. So, let's apply those tests to Muhammad, using Islam's own sources. Test 1. A false prophet invents words and calls them gods. Surah 69 says, if Muhammad fabricated revelation, God would cut his aorta. We will come back to that, because it matters enormously. Test 2. A false prophet seeks personal gain. The Quran says true prophets ask for no payment. What did Muhammad gain? 1/5 of all war spoils. Surah 8:41. Up to 13 wives, including privileges no other Muslim man was granted. Surah 33:50. a convenient revelation permitting him to marry his adopted son's wife. Surah 33:37. Complete political and military control over Arabia. Even his wife Aisha noticed. She reportedly said she felt that God always seemed to hurry in fulfilling Muhammad's desires. That is recorded in Sahih Bukhari. Test 3. A true prophet confirms the previous scriptures. The Quran says this repeatedly. Surah 2:89, Surah 5:47, Surah 10:94. The Quran claims to confirm the Bible. But here is the problem. The Quran says Jesus was not crucified. Surah 4:157. The Bible and Roman historians say he was. The Quran calls the Trinity disbelief. Surah 5:73. The Quran denies Christ's divine sonship. Surah 9:30. When Muslims are challenged on this, they say the Bible was corrupted, even though the Quran does not actually say it was. There are over 5,000 ancient New Testament manuscripts from multiple continents, multiple languages, multiple centuries. No systematic corruption has ever been demonstrated. The Dead Sea Scrolls confirmed the Old Testament's preservation over 1,000 years. You cannot appeal to a standard you simultaneously dismiss. The fourth issue, how did Muhammad die? Remember, Surah 69 verses 44 to 46. The Quran's own guarantee. If Muhammad had fabricated any saying against us, we would have cut his aorta, not just death. Specifically, aortic severance, the cutting of the main artery from the heart. So, how did Muhammad actually die? Both are Islam's most trusted sources. From Islamic sources. Sahih Bukhari, Sunan Abu Dawud. In 628 AD, Muhammad's forces conquered a Jewish settlement called Khaybar. A Jewish woman named Zainab bint al-Harith had watched Muhammad's men kill her father, her husband, and her uncle. She prepared a lamb for Muhammad. She poisoned it. Her reasoning was recorded. If he is a true prophet, he will be warned. If he is just a king, I will be rid of him. Muhammad ate the meat. He sensed something wrong and spat it out. His companion Bishr ate more. Bishr died. Muhammad survived that day. But 3 years later, in 632 AD, he was dying. And in his final illness, he spoke. "O Aisha, I still feel the pain from the food I ate at Khaybar. This is the time when that poison has cut my aorta." Those are his words, recorded in Sahih Bukhari, Islam's most trusted source. The Quran said, a false prophet dies by aortic severance. Muhammad died describing exactly that, in his own words, using the Quran's own language. This is not an argument made by critics. It comes entirely from Islamic sources. Conclusion, the evidence. The question. Let's bring this together. First, the Bible does not predict Muhammad. The two passages cited cannot support the claim. Second, the supernatural being in the cave of Hira behaved nothing like the biblical Gabriel. It brought violence, terror, and despair. Paul warned about exactly this kind of encounter. Third, the Quran's own tests for false prophethood raise serious questions. Most critically, it claims to confirm a Bible it directly contradicts. Fourth, the Quran said God would cut the aorta of a false prophet. Muhammad died by exactly that mechanism. In his own words, preserved in Islam's own records. Now, Islam has answers to all of these points. Muslim scholars have studied this for centuries. Those answers deserve to be heard and examined. But here is what cannot be avoided. The Quran positions itself as a confirmer of the Bible. The Bible's tests, honestly applied, raise serious concerns. The Quran's own tests, honestly applied, raises serious questions. And Muhammad died by the exact sign the Quran reserved for false prophets. The truth is worth looking for. Look for it honestly. Look for it without fear. To lovers of the truth, have no fear of them, for nothing is covered that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. The truth is worth looking for. It sets us free.